World leaders attending the Glasgow COP26 climate conference have made their most significant commitment so far, with a pledge by some 100 countries to cut emissions of methane by 30% this decade. The initiative is being led by the US and the EU. More than 100 leaders also agreed to end deforestation by 2030.
Day 2 of the climate summit in Glasgow began with an appeal by the British Prime Minister to preserve the world's shrinking forests.
We have to stop the devastating loss of our forests, these great teeming ecosystems, trillion-pillared cathedrals of nature, 3 trillion-pillared cathedrals of nature that are the lungs of our planet.
Over 100 countries pledged to stop and reverse deforestation. The signatories account for roughly 85% of the forests worldwide. By absorbing vast amounts of carbon dioxide, forests are key to keeping global warming in check. Previous pledges to reduce deforestation have failed to stop widespread clearing. But this was not the only big agreement from the second day of COP26. US President Joe Biden announced a joint effort with the European Union to reduce methane emissions.
It's one of the most potent greenhouse gases there is. It amounts to about half the warming we're experiencing today, just the methane exposure. So together, we're committing to collectively reduce our methane by 30% by 2030, and I think we could probably go beyond that.
Cutting back on methane emissions is one of the most effective things we can do to reduce near-term global warming and keep 1.5 degrees Celsius. It is the lowest hanging fruit.
What do we want? Climate justice! When do we want it? Now!
Despite the day's big promises, climate activists say world leaders are not pulling in the same direction to ensure enough is done to avoid catastrophic global warming. Protesters borrowed imagery from the popular series Squid Game to demand that politicians stop playing with the lives of others.
We're joined now from the COP26 summit in Glasgow by Dominika Lasota, a Polish climate activist with the Fridays for Future movement. Thanks for being with us. Dominika, are you convinced that your voice is being heard by leaders in Glasgow?
So far, unfortunately, absolutely not. Throughout those 2 past days, we have seen international media erasing the voices of climate activists from the global south. And we have seen world leaders just being stuck in this fairy tale about the climate crisis, where they think that they can offer us those nice words, those nice speeches, without any concrete actions, which shows that very well that we are kind of seeing those people in power absolutely detached from the reality and not really listening to the science and not really listening to the young people screaming for action at this moment.
Well, we've already received a couple of pledges there at this COP conference concerning methane reductions and deforestation. What do you make of the pledges that have been made at COP26 so far?
Well, I think those are very nice words and very nice promises, but again, they are nothing different to what we have seen before. I think when it comes to the deforestation agreement, something similar has been agreed in 2014, and it has not been fulfilled so far. You know, one of the biggest agreements, the Paris Agreement, was signed 6 years ago, and so far only 1 country is on the track to fulfill it. So there's definitely visible this phenomenon of politicians giving us very nice promises, but actually not implementing change that is so much drastically needed right now.
Let's talk about your country for a moment, Poland. It generates 70% of its energy from coal. It has huge coal mines that employ lots of people. How much support is there in Poland for transitioning to a less carbon-intensive future?
Surprisingly, there is a massive public support for a phase-out of coal by 2030. Right now, the research says that it's over 80% of the people in Poland support that, but who doesn't support that is the government. And we are seeing, especially this year, how the government is doing everything they can to actually tie us to coal. They've signed this agreement with the coal lobby to tie us to coal to 2049, and they're constantly undermining any science, any expertise that says that we need to phase out coal by 2030. And surprisingly, though, many politicians say to me when we protest in Poland, they say that, oh, you better go to Germany and protest there because the coal mines are running there and the power plants are running there still. And obviously, this is a way to create, a simple excuse to not do anything in Poland. But there's also a truth to it that, we're all stuck in this system of coal dependency. And be that Germany, be that Poland, the need to phase out coal by 2030 is as urgent in my country and in Germany too.
Dominika, thank you very much. That was Dominika Lasota from Fridays for Future in Poland. She joined us from Glasgow.
Thank you.